Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Mission Matters Innovation Podcast, your source for all things innovation. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres to keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today I have Raghu Bala on the line, and this is a very special reunion 2020 episode. What is that? That's when I bring on a guest I had on the past, and I liked him so much I had to bring him right on back. So Raghu is the CEO over at NetObjex. Raghu, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Adam, for having me. Appreciate it.
All right, so I'm excited to get into today's topic. I mean, you're definitely the guy that I want to talk to this about. So how the pandemic is going to change many industries going forward. But before we get into that, I want to not assume that all of our new listeners caught your first episode we did together. So let's start off with you telling us a little bit more about what you're doing over at NetObjex, please.
So NetObjex is a startup company. We're about 3 years into it, and just closing around a funding right now. But what we do as a business is we are a automation platform. So we go into various industries, and we have customers in in 4 continents, in Europe, North America, Asia, and Australia, where the platform is used to automate various processes. These processes might be in supply chain, healthcare, smart cities, and so on. And it combines 3 key technologies, IoT, which is Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, and blockchain, in order to perform the automation.
Can you give an example, because there's a lot of business owners, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of executives listening right now. Can you give an example of like the type of client that's the right type or the right fit for you? Is this for small business, for enterprise only, middle market? Like to give us an idea for that.
Sure. So we initially, when we started for the first, I'd say 2 to 3 years, 2.5 years or so, a lot of the customers were newer companies who were disrupting the market. And in the last year or 9 months, what we've seen is a lot of larger players have come on board, because I think this message of digital transformation or disruption has reached them. And we are in a kind of a very interesting period of time where if companies do not react fast to competition, they are risking technically of even going out of business, despite how big they are. And we have even seen a lot of Dow 30 stocks or large companies who have disappeared over time because they did not innovate. And just a quick example might be a Blockbuster did not see streaming video coming around, and today all of us stream video. The last time anyone of us bought a DVD or watched on a video cassette was, I can't remember when. So disruption is always coming in various industries, and people have to adapt and change. And that same sort of disruption is coming about in multiple industries as a kind of a nexus of these three technologies coming together. It's causing massive amounts of change. So a typical example where change could happen is, I'll give you a very simple example everyone can relate to. So management of street lights in a city, let's say. Now what happens is, I was speaking to the CIO of a fairly large city in America, and I said, what if your street lights fail? How do you find out? And he says, we wait for someone to call in the 800 number. But I'm thinking to myself, I've lived in this country for about 30 plus years, and when something fails, I think the typical response for any one of us is like, unless you are really into it, you just drive past and you think, someone's going to fix it.
Yeah, I'm not going to say, hey, that street light's out unless it's in front of my house.
Yeah, unless it's in front of your house or something like that, and it's causing some real big disruption. You're not going to find out the 800 number, and you're not going to call, and it's someone's job. So, and we are doing these trials in Europe with a partner in Belgium, the Netherlands, and in Germany, where the street lights are monitored using our platform and some sensors from our partner company. And when some street light is beginning to sort of dim and, it's going to die off soon, or there's some problems, maybe someone threw a stone or stone hit the light and it broke, or whatever the case might be, we know immediately in real time, and that something has gone wrong and that a fix needs to happen, and whoever needs to be dispatched to that location to fix it, and so on and so forth. So that's an example where the old-fashioned way is just not fast enough, and it has disruptions. It might cause traffic problems. It might be a safety issue for people walking down the street being mugged or whatever it might be. So just the general theme that I want to really get across to people is we live in a real-time world. Everything that used to be that, I'll get to it tomorrow or next week or next month has now become, I get to it now. Within a few minutes, I drop everything and handle this immediately. And that's happening in businesses everywhere, because if you don't react, you are gone. Your competition will eat not only your lunch, but they'll also eat your dinner. So it's that bad. And real time even is not good enough. I mean, I chuckle when I say this because customers come to us and say, you know what, I need predictive analytics. I want to know what's going to happen in the future. Give me a crystal ball, because decisions right now is too late. I need to make decisions for tomorrow, today, so that when tomorrow comes around, I am well positioned as a company. So that's the world we live in. Things are like chop, chop. You got to move very, very, very quickly. And so our platform, what it does, it's a real-time business operating platform. And we collect data from IoT sensors, from feeds, from apps, and files and so on, and we run it through our platform to make decisions instantaneously. So you can turn on a street light if it just went off, if it's still working. You can slow down the industrial machinery if it's running out of motor oil so that you don't burn the engine out. You can do things immediately. If your trucker that was supposed to deliver something from point A to point B is not taking the most optimal route, you can inform him right away, like, something is off. If you're taking a detour for some reason, so we want to know, you can know immediately. That's how good the information is today. And that's not only because of our platform, but because of the great networks that we have today in terms of 4G, even coming up with 5G and so on. The speed of computers, like your phone, has got more computing power than your desktop or even your mainframe from 20 years ago. So that's the world we live in, where computing power has become very inexpensive. Cloud computing is made it so. Your hardware is very commoditized, extremely inexpensive to own. So people are able to do things with technology that they did not imagine before. And so this automation that we are doing, the time is right for it.
It's pretty exciting stuff. And so that kind of sets the stage. So how do you think this coronavirus pandemic changes industries? If you combine this speed of change with what you just mentioned, with that, what does that look like going forward?
So that's an interesting question, and we've been pondering, and all of us, at least in the company, what we are doing is the situation is bad, and there's a lot of human cost to it, and also we have seen that cost in terms of how the stock market has reacted and so on, and soon we probably might see the impact in terms of jobs. But from a company-specific perspective, what we're doing is sort of imagining the future and seeing what's in the crystal ball, so that we can position ourselves as a company to benefit from the change. And I think there'll be a lot of behavioral changes, starting with everyday human behavior, and then also how customers, consumers, and businesses operate. And we are already seeing some of this right now. As a company, actually, NetObjex is a distributed workforce. And so working from home or working from different locations is already sort of part of our DNA, but that sort of work culture has now come about in almost every company. Almost everyone is working from a remote place. They are not working in an office. So I think with that in mind, if more and more people work from their homes or other remote locations and not go into the office, then one of the outflows of that might be we need remote management of assets. I want to be able to control various assets, whether it's a building, if it's a vehicle, if it's a warehouse. If people are not going there often anymore, then it'll be in the form of machinery. The machinery could be in the form of a driverless car, a robot, or it could be simply a CCTV camera or some sensors collecting data in real time, so that we don't need to deploy human labor to go and do certain tasks because of how the world will change. I think one of the things that people need to realize, I'll just mention it quickly, is while this change might be like imposed on us right now due to a virus and so on, I think businesses will also change permanently in some cases, where they might start to think, wow, we were forced to work a particular way due to this pandemic. Going forward, we might change the way we work. The new normal will set in, where people might say, you know what, I might only come in 2 times a week to office because I've got a lot of commute problems and this and that. I'm much more productive and so on. So we have to think of this time as some sort of experiment also at the same time. While the world is adapting to some really bad stuff, it's also at the same time a very good live experiment as to see how many businesses can actually function with such a disruption. And if that works, then how kids are taught in school to how businesses operate might completely change. So we believe that change will involve a lot of automation, and which is why we are I don't want to sound flippant, but we are sort of excited for the future, because the automation aspect that we have been talking about, that a lot of our customers already enjoy, I think it'll become much more prevalent as more and more people realize that that's how you got to operate with all the constraints that would be placed on us. So.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. It's interesting you say that, and I don't want to be flippant either, because neither of us want to ever see anybody hurt or anything like that and what's going on. I mean, it's terrible. But that being said, in this business, we were getting ready to open up a call center and making plans for, where we're going to have that call center in Phoenix, Texas, or Miami. And after this happened, and that was supposed to happen in the spring for our company, and after this happened, we're like, we do everything online. We have a lot of remote workers anyway. Why don't we just go further down the line of what we're really good at? And so, and this is going to sound, again, really bad, but we'll make more money and we'll be bigger and we'll do it faster than we would have done had we used some of the old models that I was familiar with instead of the newer models I was familiar with. I thought I had to do it the other way. Now, if you really think about it, if you think about LinkedIn or all these other places, you have CEOs, you have people of large companies shooting videos from their living room. It's now, everything's changed. It's now acceptable to work from home. You can be in your living room, shoot a video, do an interview on national TV, and it's okay now. Like, everything has changed. Just that alone, because the perception has changed, because now it's okay to do that. It's almost like Uber. Like, at first when Uber came out, it wasn't okay. It's like, who wants to do that? Then after enough people did it, it's like, of course, everybody uses Uber.
That's a very good point. I like the word you used as acceptable, because our behavioral norms, what was normal, is now there's a new normal. Okay, new normal is working from home is okay as long as I get my job done and I can come in once in a while. It's good enough. Whereas in the previous sort of mindset was, no, if you don't come to office, that means you are like,
that means you're not good at what you do,
or something like that.
Yeah, it means you're not good at what you do. And I remember for Uber, I have a really specific example. So I managed money in Century City for a long time, and I used to ask my clients when Uber came about, I said, hey, if I didn't have a car and if I just took Uber, what would you say? And my clients were, they were older, they're, mature, and they'd say, well, I think you had a DUI or that you did something wrong and you can't drive or you don't have a license. And then I remember like a year or two after that asking some of the same clients the same thing, just taking a poll to see what it was like, and this before anything was going public or wide share was really like rampant. And I remember them saying, "Oh yeah, my niece takes it, or my goddaughter, or my granddaughter, or yeah, we took it the other night because me and my husband wanted to go have an extra glass of wine, so we took it, and then it was perfectly fine." It was like as if Uber had never existed before.
That's exactly the same types of things that will happen here, and I think in the field service industry, like, where service people have to go out to locations and things like that, not all of it can be automated, obviously.
Sure.
But there will be a certain segment of things that I think will be replaced, actually, will be changed. In fact, I'll just give you one small story about maybe a few months ago, I ordered Domino's at home, and I don't know if Domino's is still continuing this program, but on my screen it popped up to say whether do you want it delivered by a human or through our driverless service. And I was really excited. I said, let me try the driverless service. And then it said it's not offered in your area because I live up the hill and things like that. Maybe it's not. But I really wanted to see the driverless service work because I wanted to pick up my pizza from a kind of a vehicle that drops it off at my home.
Yeah.
Like that.
I'm in. I want to say driverless car. I want to say drone. I want to say drone. I need multiple options, Domino's. I want you to drone my pizza to my window, and I just want to put the location right on my window. Open the window, bring it right in.
That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. In fact, there's a technology that I've seen last year, or about 2 years ago, which you kind of plop it, especially if you're living in a high rise in New York City or something like that. You plop it at your window. It's a sort of a chute, and what happens, the drone is supposed to come and drop off, and your chute opens up and it picks up the package that it's trying to drop off, and then the chute sort of like closes, and you can open the chute from the inside of your home, like the inside of the window, and pick up your package. So this technology already exists, and I think sooner or later, like I said, we are going into a kind of a low touch, more remote world, and human assets are going to be used for higher value thinking type of work, as opposed to more field type of work, especially with certain types of things which can be replaced or changed, and that will happen. I think delivery type jobs and so on. That's where driverless cars or drones and things like that. It's more automation. I think there's a kind of a trend, and this event, while it's negative in nature, I think there's a lot of learnings that us as humans can take out of it, and then a new class of businesses will open up. I think the future is bright. It'll be a bit different. This is almost like a shock to the system at many, many levels. Obviously it's a very painful time. I don't want to minimize it, but at the same time, I think I just did a quick search. I was just looking at Wikipedia that mankind has existed for 200,000 years, 6,000 years as civilized man, and it's gone through a lot of shocks along the way, all kinds of disasters, all kinds of illnesses, and we have survived.
I mean, this is how we move forward as mankind. There's no apology needed. I mean, this is how. And by the way, we're on an innovation technology podcast. So if somebody's listening to this one, they better be expecting to hear about innovation and what's coming out. So we're not on the. If we were recording this one, Raghu, on the money podcast right now, we were talking about the market. You could be sad. You don't have to be sad on this one.
This one, actually, even for the money people, this is the place where I think the future money can be made, honestly, to be really, really frank about it. But with that, that's my thoughts at this point in time. I'm an optimist. I think I see things will turn around. Hopefully we get past all of this very soon. So,
which we sure will. And so, Raghu, we're about out of time. That being said, if somebody wants to follow up and learn more about what you're doing over at NetObjex, how do they follow up with you? So
we actually post a lot of things on LinkedIn and other social media sites. Obviously, the website itself, www.netobjex.com, has got a lot of information. And for those who want to connect with me on LinkedIn, look me up, and always interested to talk to new people and share ideas and so on.
Awesome. Well, hey, Raghu, really appreciate you coming on the show today, sharing more about your views on what's going on, and also, of course, what you're doing over at NetObjex to help your clients. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you did, don't forget, subscribe to the podcast, leave me a review on the Apple iTunes Store. I mean, do all those great things we do to support our podcasters. And if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, Mission Matters Innovation, definitely give us a subscribe there and let us know what you thought and what kind of things you're working on. Love to hear it. And Raghu, thanks again for coming on the show.